Now there were Khans of different clans, and this was the Kurayt clan. And at the moment, Temujin, who is the young Genghis, he did not have a big tribe of people, but he was a good gambler. So he would go and he would grow his people by collecting wanderers, different raiders, and different villagers that were just wandering away from the Tartars, which were the enemy at the time. And so he wanted to form this alliance, or was sought after to form this alliance with Togrul of the Kurayt. And when he went to visit this great Khan, this great leader of this great tribe, which was, hundreds and hundreds of people, he saw that the guy was big. But he wasn't big like muscular big. He was big like he had grown fat on maybe all the spoils of war, just the mutton that they were eating, the meat that they were eating, whatever. He had his fill. He had definitely had his share, and they were not going hungry over there. At least he wasn't, the leader. So he noticed, when he rode up with maybe 6 of his tribesmen, Temujin, he rode up to this great warrior who he had heard so much about, Togrul of the Kurayt, and he was not impressed. He saw that this man was very stout in his figure, that he kind of was a little lethargic. He didn't look like he could ride a horse very confidently. And in fact, he never rode his own horse. He would have a couple horses almost draw him with a carriage, almost, like a cart. He had to have a cart and be wheeled around. But there was always a feast. There was always a feast. When they made peace, there was a feast. When he was thinking, there was a feast. When he was making plans for war, there was a feast. After war and celebration, there was a feast. Maybe if there was a death, there was a mourning, there was a feast. If there was a birth, there was a feast. There was always food being cooked. And Temujin came to the clan. He came to their village, and he wanted to talk the alliance. He wanted to get down to business, but the Khan was saying, no, let's eat first, then we'll get down to business, right? And Temujin wasn't really taking him seriously, but he was at a loss because he didn't have enough fighters on his side to really have his say. So he said, okay, as you wish. Your wish is my command. So they brought this big old feast in front of them as they were about to talk about forming the alliance against a common enemy. And Temujin started to speak up again at the dinner table, asking him, hey, this is what I'm asking for. I require just, 60 good men. We'll ride out and I'll bring you back 100 heads. You give me 60 men, I'll bring back 100 heads. And the Khan, of Kurayt, Togrul, was like, no, wait. He pointed to the food. Like, we're not done eating, we're not finished. So he said, okay, Jesus, this guy really cares about his meals, right? So that part of his character was revealed. Then when he finally got what he wanted, he went out, he took the 100 heads, he collected and gathered more people for his tribe, and he came back with more people. But this time he had learned. He had learned the character of Togrul, this Khan of the Kurayt, this Khan of the Great. And he came back, and once he had more soldiers, the Khan kind of gave him a side eye. Like, he didn't expect him to come back with so many more people. And he was about to speak, but then he smelled something in the air. See, Temujin had already had them to start cooking a meal for him. And as soon as the Khan was about to voice his opposition or voice his opinion, Temujin pointed at the meal, said, let us eat, let us feast, right? Let us put your mind at ease. This has been a great victory. And after they were full and fed on the feast, he knew that the Khan would be distracted. He knew that his mind would be elsewhere after, being so full on food. And that's when he gave him his plan, and that's when he asked for his demands. And he did this over and over again. And he managed to get exactly what he wanted out of this great leader, out of this great Khan, because he knew his one weakness was his obsession with food. His obsession with having a meal and a feast before every occasion. So he went out and he got more men and he came back. And the other Khan saw him growing in power, and he stroked his beard and he started to sour, but then he pointed to the food so he could devour, right? Temujin went out, he got more soldiers, he came back. He had hundreds more. The Khan saw him growing more in power, and he almost started to get a little bit sour, but then Temujin pointed to more food and he started to devour. So every single time, his one weakness was the gluttony. The weakness of the belly, the weakness of the stomach, the weakness of not being able to take food off the table. And because he lacked the ability for restraint, it started to taint and it started to tarnish his legacy a little bit. And he ended up being assassinated, being killed. All because he could not plan ahead, he could not focus, he could not get into concentration or the level or vibration in which he could prevent his own demise. And so Temujin was allowed to rise and rise and rise. And for Temujin, it was never a surprise that right before his very eyes, he was able to overthrow and take Togrul's own people. He took his own tribe. Because the one thing that the great Conn could not hide was his inability to allow his vices to go. Just like a bad poker player, he let his tell show. So I just wanted to talk about that and just touch on that a little bit because it made me chuckle a little bit, just to know that such great men or such great people throughout history could fall so low just because of the addictions that they could not let go. So thank you for listening. And much love to you, my friend. Until next time, we'll see you again.